For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise. And you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble, and the countdown is on to... am I allowed to say the C word? Christmas? The countdown is on to Christmas on the show. You know, last week we had Candace Cameron Bure, and, we got the lovey-dovey, ooey-gooey Christmassy content out of the way. This week, this is going to be fun. We are checking in with Michael Gross and Meredith Baxter. You remember them, the parents on Family Ties? That was a great show back when I was a kid. And so it's reunited, and it feels so good because I met these two almost about 10 years ago at the TV Land Awards in New York. We had some good laughs then, and I thought, you know what, Christmas is so... Well, I said this last week. Everybody's getting so depressed and gloom and doom that, Christmas is terrible, it's canceled, whatever. But let's just look back then, right? Let's stay positive. Let's be optimistic. Let's have some laughs. And so I figure we go back to a time in the 80s, early 90s. We had, Candace from Full House in the 90s. We got Family Ties in the 80s. And let's just have some laughs. Let's just have a good time. Because this is also, honestly, just a few minutes ago, I was on Facebook. I spend very little time on Facebook. But I just saw somebody who just, like, I'm at the end of my rope. I just don't know what to do anymore. It's like, everybody, let's just chill out. Let's relax. Let's have some laughs. Let's have a good time. That's what we're going to do for the next 30 minutes. So... I feel like they're my TV parents. Michael Gross and Meredith Baxter coming up on The Scribble right after this.
Who are the Kardashians feuding with now? What did that little thug Justin Bieber do this time? Who's getting hitched? And who's headed for Splitsville? Hear the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. The good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the ridiculously hilarious. It's all recapped in this daily segment at entertainmentwrapup.com. Have a laugh at the expense of the rich and famous when they take themselves way too seriously. It's 3 minutes of time-wasting fun at entertainmentwrapup.com. Check out Entertainment Wrap-Up at entertainmentwrapup.com. Brought to you by Speak Free Books.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
I think we're all starting to accept that the Christmas and holiday season will be a little bit different than previous years, right? And it's had a lot of people depressed, but I say let's reflect on the good times of the past. And since so many of us won't be with our families this year, I'm bringing one of our TV favorites to you guys, everybody, okay? I'm welcoming back to our radio house Michael Gross and Meredith Baxter from the hit TV show Family Ties. They're joining us on the line. Hello, you two.
Hello.
Well, this is sort of a reunion of sorts because you two, actually your entire family, I think, was on the radio with us at the TV Land Awards. It was the red carpet about 10 years ago. So we haven't aged a bit, have we?
Wow. We still look marvelous.
I can tell by looking at you, Michael.
The safest way to look at me is on the phone, so we're
Yep.
good. It's been approximately 30 years since we closed the door on Family Ties, and yet, I don't know, time compresses for me. I swear to God, it seems like only yesterday, and perhaps the fact that Meredith and I do keep in touch and have worked together on a couple of occasions makes it all feel very much like it was yesterday.
Yeah, it's much closer, and that's the best thing about it. I wish we saw more of our Family Ties family more often, but we don't. But I love being able to see Michael and work with him. That's really very cool.
Yeah, well, you all did a cast video reunion of sorts, right? The Keatons all got back together, and so is it? I mean, you had a professional relationship back in the day, but we don't see very often that casts are still like a family so many years later. But it seems like you all genuinely are.
Well, Meredith, you want to take that? We did. I'll start off by saying we did like each other and still do. Go ahead, honey.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I think there was a real deep fondness and respect that we had for each other, and we just laughed all the time. Family Ties really saved my life for that, and particularly Michael, I guess. I think he was my best friend for 7 years.
Wow. You should have. I would have expected larger Christmas presents had I been your friend for 7 years, but you know, it was always disappointing. No.
But then you're so material.
Yeah, well, I from my material girl. I remember, seriously, I thought of this morning because it's Christmas time. Meredith gave me one Christmas do you remember giving me a pair of pruning shears? You did.
Oh my!
You did, and I still have them, and I love them. They're my favorite pruning shears.
You have others to choose from.
I think she just looked at me and said, "There's a guy who needs pruning shears." No, I think I just bought our home, and you knew I was the do-it-yourself type. So rather than giving me a gutter and a downspout, you gave me pruning shears.
Well, that was the choice. Yes, you're right. I'm glad I went for the shears.
But you know, we can argue that is the gift that keeps on giving. Yeah.
I know. And she actually managed to get a sock that was big enough to put it in. I remember every year always feeling this pressure, like, what do you get anybody who's making making a good salary, basically getting anything they want. You know, Michael Fox is not like he was holding back. And Justine, we had good salaries, comfortable salaries. We got what we wanted. So I finally wound up. I remember I was giving baked goods and homemade items and things like that. Chutney and holiday breads and things like that. Yeah.
I did that, and I remember one year, but here's the thing, I can't remember if it was that series or Family. I made chicken liver pate.
I love it.
In little crocks.
And the pruning shears were homemade too, as I recall.
Yes.
You fashioned them in your own metal workshop at home. We don't see a lot of each other just because we've fallen away with busy lives, not because we don't like each other. When I get east, I try to see Michael for lunch or breakfast or something like that. Meredith and I were doing a play, Love Letters, in New Jersey a couple of years ago, just across the river from New York, and tried to get Michael to come, but he was out of town or otherwise engaged, or he just didn't want to see us. It's like, I've seen you two.
I prefer the latter, frankly.
Yeah, I've seen you too, and what I saw I didn't like.
Oh my!
We just fell away, as you do from some friends when you get busy with your own lives.
Let's talk about the cast, the characters on the show today, because obviously the political landscape has changed big time. Where do you see everybody in the family now on the show? I mean, Alex was big into politics, as we know. What would be those dinner table conversations today, Meredith?
Oh my goodness. That's a projection I don't know I can reach for. I would be hoping that someone else would be doing the cooking.
Okay.
Well, it wouldn't have been me.
Well, no, and I don't know that any of the kids were very. Tina would probably be doing the cooking. She'd bring stuff, and so this at least isn't saddled with that.
Sorry, Meredith, where do you see your character now then? I think it would be awesome if she was one of those like Real Housewives. Could you see that?
Jeremy, for goodness sake, no. That's a horrible vision. No,
She's going to take your head off, Jeremy.
All right. Uh-oh.
yeah.
With those shears.
I'd want much more for her than that. I think she's probably an independent architect by this time, and has a small cadre of people who work under her, and very successful, doing maybe working with Habitat, Habitat for Humanity, and along that line.
Okay, Michael.
Yes, lots of liberal roots, in other words.
Yeah. So, Michael, what do you see those dinner table conversations being, and the cast today?
Well, to be honest with you, as divisive as things have gotten in the world in general, I still think their discussions would be tempered by civility. I really do. And that's one of the things I liked about them is, I mean, naturally, it was a different America. It was the pre-Newt Gingrich America where people still listened to each other instead of just yelled at each other. And I think it all started with him, but that's my own opinion. At any rate, I think the wonderful thing about the character of Alex and all of us in general is we settled our differences. We listened to each other, and despite the differences, managed to carve out compromise, or at least a respect for each other's differences. And that's hard to find these days. I honestly think it's time to not have a reunion show, please, not that, but rerun it somewhere in a major way, and that everybody, before they take their seats in Congress, should be required to watch it, just to watch how people were able to sit down and hammer out compromise. For golly's sake, that what we have in common for most people, in fact, most Americans, I think it's far more than the differences, and we get lost in the differences, and I think the internet doesn't help.
Mm-hmm. Meredith, do you have a favorite episode, a memory from taping the show?
There's a lot of episodes I liked a lot, but because of the holidays, I was thinking about when we did Christmas Past. Actually, did we do a show that had both past and
well, we did we did a takeoff on the Charles Dickens piece, and and you and I were living in extreme poverty, as I recall.
Oh, and that's Alex, right. And Tina was selling dirt.
Yeah, right.
And
to make
we
a
had
living.
clothesline hanging in the living room.
Right. Which you comedically kept catching on your neck as you tried to walk through the room and talk.
She had a very short memory by that time.
And Alex was this big sign of industry, and he wore a fat pad, and he was a big
the banker from Monopoly.
Yeah, exactly. And came in and gave us a few dollars here and there as a Christmas present. Go out and buy something nice for yourselves.
Yeah, that was a lovely show.
So, what are your holiday plans for this year, you two, Meredith?
Laying low, staying close.
Yeah.
Just my wife and I. We're in touch with all the kids. We do Zooming or FaceTime all the time. So that's just the way we stay connected.
Yeah, Michael.
We have had a little wrinkle in our plans this year, in that our granddaughter is now quarantining because she's tested positive twice for COVID, and things are a little crazy right now because she's permanently moored to her bedroom right now, a 19-year-old, and very, very bored and very upset at that, more emotionally than physically, frankly. She's got a light case of it, but she's lost her sense of smell and her sense of taste. And I always thought she had bad taste anyway. She was a teenager. And there you go. But anyway, so she's beside herself because a lot of her friends are home, and she's a very social person. So we're not sure what's happening right now. In fact, her mother, our daughter, is now at our house trying to stay away from her old daughter. And she's tested negative a couple of times, so she's living in a wing of our house, and we're bringing meals to her, keeping her. So it's very, very weird. We were going to New Mexico as a family, and now we're just playing it day by day and see what happens.
Well, and I think
We'd all been kind of in the same pod, and then our granddaughter went and ruined it.
Jeez, no shears for her this year, okay?
Yeah, right. No, yeah, take her off her pruning shear list.
No gardening tools, no gifts, no. I think that's the thing, though. This year, let's all just sort of be creative, and it's like, having a different holiday isn't necessarily a bad thing, because I think that sometimes it almost becomes routine. So this is mixing it up a little bit. We've got to stay positive. We've got to look on the bright side, I think.
I absolutely agree with you, and I've said to everybody, no presents this year. Please, no presents. Take what you would give to me and give it to a food pantry somewhere. People are standing in lines to get food, for golly's sake, in this country. So don't give me another pair of socks. I don't need them. I really want, and I've already, done those year-end contributions as well to certain groups that I've particularly fond of, including, a prominent food pantry here in Los Angeles, where there's a great deal of homelessness and all that sort of thing. So it's just, it can be different and still be a great Christmas, as far as I'm concerned. We're so blessed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, then in that way we're still connected to the philosophy of giving, and it makes me feel good. We're supporting the Habitat for Humanity and a local theater here. And I don't know how the theaters around the country or the restaurants are going to survive all this. So anyway, we can support them, which is really important.
And this is a great forum for me to tell Meredith she's not getting anything from me for Christmas. So there.
Oh, honey, I didn't expect anything. Why change the habit now?
Right, exactly. I have to say something, Jeremy. Today is Meredith's 7th wedding anniversary.
Well,
yes.
Sorry, I've just outed you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
I don't think it started with you, but thank you.
Wait, he outed you?
He didn't have to. I did a good job of that at the Disneyland Awards.
I would say you're still an old married couple, and that's a compliment.
Yeah, thank you. That's how it feels.
Well, it does. I still call Meredith my first wife. God bless her. I was married.
And I call him my favorite husband.
You've had, yeah.
She got a salary for being married to me, which is not what a lot of wives can say.
It was the only way I was going to stay in the marriage.
And I gave her weekends off. And a hiatus of 4 months every year. So that's not a bad marriage at all.
That's the secret to making a relationship work, I think.
Yeah. More people should try it our way, I swear to God.
Absolutely. Now, we've got to wrap this up, but Michael, I think you also have a good idea for Christmas gifts, a DVD and a Blu-ray release, right?
Yeah. In October, but believe it or not, the 7th manifestation of Tremors films have come out. So it's on Blu-ray, DVD, and Netflix. Tremors 7, something called Shrieker Island. And so Burt Gummer, this character I started playing within weeks of finishing Family Ties, is the gift that 30 years later keeps giving. Seriously. So I'm thrilled. Because so much else is shut down for me. I don't know about Meredith, but I've worked very little, both because some jobs have dried up and others out of the offers I have had, out of an abundance of caution, I thought, I don't want to do that. I don't want to take the chance. So I'm just lying low until that vaccine rears its head.
Yeah, nothing else to do. Just wait.
Oh, this absolutely is a year to enjoy that togetherness, right? It's locked people in together, and so you start to appreciate your relationships, or the opposite, I guess, in some cases.
Well, yeah. I mean, thank God. I think Meredith and I have both shown we found ourselves good partners. Thank God, because otherwise this could be less of a marriage than a hostage crisis.
Oh dear, yes. I've been in those.
True. It's true. You developed Stockholm syndrome there for a while.
Let's not talk about that.
We know too much about each other, Jeremy.
That is absolutely true.
And here's another statistic: more than half our lives. We figured that out the other day. We met when we were 35 years of age, and we're both past 70 now, and so we've known each other for over half our lives, which is kind of wonderful.
And you have the exact
I
same
never thought of
birthday.
that. Yeah,
We do indeed. Yeah.
same
So,
day, same year.
yeah.
See, now if that's not fate,
And,
I mean
get-
that's.
I look forward to the annual pruning shears coming every year.
You're so misguided.
Did you celebrate your birthdays together, like when you guys were on set, or what did you do?
Yeah, we were always on hiatus.
Oh, in
weren't we?
June. Yeah, you were.
Yeah, that's right.
When we were in England, we were doing a Family Ties movie, which I don't think they even have that listed as one of the segments of the show, do they anymore?
I have to have my name removed.
Yes, it wasn't their best hour. But we had fun being in England and shooting this not great movie. And we had our birthday. And I remember they gave us this huge cake that was covered with a very hard ganache icing that we couldn't cut through it.
You know something? I thought you cut through that ganache with panache.
Oh, and with.
You were,
Okay, you can just cut that part.
you were great. No, I remember that was the only birthday we celebrated together in those days because otherwise we were on hiatus and during June. We had not yet. We were on our vacation, so and we celebrated one at my house a couple of years ago. But
right.
you know, yeah. But we were basically, it's phone calls and
And jobs.
touching base
And working together, yeah. So the one time that you guys had a cake together, you didn't have the pruning shears to cut it.
No, we did not. They wouldn't let me. They wouldn't let me get through the security line with them. And,
They're a bit tricky.
And on the way to London.
How do you explain that on the? Yeah.
But speaking of flying to London, I think Meredith and I kid about this. It was a very, very silly movie, and I think our writers to this day will admit they wrote it on the plane on their way to London. that's how far ahead they thought about it.
I think, what do you have us doing? We doing what?
Wow.
Oh, God. This has been a great reminiscence. Jeremy, I hope we haven't bored you to death.
No, we are so out of time, but it's been fascinating to hear it all, being a fly on the wall to your relationship chatter. I love it. So we're going to be...
Well, clearly...
Thank you for having me.
Clearly, I still love this woman and enjoy seeing her, and so it's a great. Any excuse for us to get together is a good excuse, as far as I'm concerned.
All right. Well, we've got to wrap this up. So I want to thank you to Michael Gross, Meredith Baxter. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great holiday season.
Thank you, and the same to you. And Meredith, you be well, okay?
Honey, I will, darling. You take care.
Do my best to Nancy. I sure will. All right.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks very much.
Bye.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
It's never too early to start thinking about your next holiday. Have you checked out Mexico recently? From tequila tasting, swimming with horses, to ziplining through the jungle and watching whales and dolphins in their natural habitat, Puerto Vallarta has it all. Visit mexico.jbonair.com to see all the fun PV has to offer. That's at mexico.jbonair.com for hundreds of photos, interviews, and videos from around the tourist hotspot. Check out mexico.jbonair.com for all the fun. That's mexico.jbonair.com.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on The Scribble. I felt like I was in the way. Was I in the way? I was the third wheel during that segment, and I just maybe should have kept my mouth. I just maybe let them go. No. We actually taped that segment for our syndicated radio shows, and I had stayed on the phone with Michael. We actually chatted for several more minutes after we were rolling, and so it was really good. I just, it's those down-to-earth celebrities that I think I said this shortly after it was Regis, I guess, died, or Alex Trebek even as well, that there's just something about that level of celebrity from back in the day that they are genuinely nice people, and they're happy that you want to talk to them and pay attention to them. And so, that's just how I felt. Again, because we met at the TV Land Awards, I was saying that earlier, I was just starting to cover red carpets at that time in my career. And I'll be honest, I was absolutely drunk during that red carpet. And even to listen back to some of those clips when I crossed paths with Michael J. Fox, I thought I was being cool by like, oh my God, here we are just chatting. Hey, why don't you introduce yourself? Say who you are. And I think now that when I listen back to it, because I just listened to it a couple of days ago, it almost came across like I didn't know who he was. And he's like, yeah, my name is Michael Fox. And I was like, of course, I'm a fellow Canadian. Like, it was a joke. And it was the booze brain, because I was having vodka in my hotel suite before going. I was so nervous. I was so anxious because, again, when you're this up and coming, when you're this aspiring entertainment or celebrity reporter from Canada, no less, it's intimidating. It was really intimidating to go there. And also, too, the fact that you have, people from The Cosby Show, Welcome Back, Kotter, all these shows that I know from back in the day, it was almost surreal. Like, you're meeting these people now, and you're talking to them. Now you have this chance, this opportunity to interact with them and talk with them. I was drunk out of my face in my hotel. I really was. I honestly was. And so when I listened back to some of those clips, we had all of the cast of Family Ties basically on with us. I just sit there going, I was cringing. I can't listen to this. I can't. And at the very beginning, when we started doing red carpets, I could tell that I was a little bit over the top and that I just, it was too much. I was extra, I guess the kids would say nowadays. But I don't know that our listeners, or, if you've never met me, you wouldn't necessarily know. But I'm just like, oh my God, I'm like shouting at these people. But at the same time, a red carpet is very loud too, right? You've got commotion on every direction. You've got people talking and noise. So anyway, it was great chatting with them. You know what? Next week on the show, as we wrap up the Christmas season, right? Because our next show is actually on Christmas Day, right? Because our show is on Fridays. Our next show is on Christmas Day. And then our one after that is New Year's Day. So I'll do it next week. I'll wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year at the same time, right? How often does that happen, right? When we are on Friday. If the calendar fell a different way, I could wish you Merry Christmas one week, and then I wish you Happy New Year the next. But instead, and I will wish you a Merry Christmas. See, I'm not ashamed to say the C word on the air. But again, I think that most people, if you don't have a stick up your ass, I think most people sort of just realize that you're wishing them well anyway. It's just kind of a well wish. Happy holidays. It's basically saying, have a happy whatever the hell you celebrate. Can I say that? That's probably very unchurchy, unchristly, unbibly. I don't know. Can we get Candace back? I'm sure she's got something to say about that in the Salvation Army. Anyway, so next week what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you a story about looking back on one of the friendships that I had in my life that really meant a lot to me, and a person, a very special person in my life, who passed away a few years ago. She was a coworker and then became a really good friend. And that's kind of my Christmas takeaway this year. We're not doing the big family, thing get together because apparently it's illegal where I am anyway. We'll get arrested. My parents are going to get locked up. I'm going to phone it in. My parents are having a Christmas get together. Come and lock them up. There we go. Right? It's not like Christmas unless you have your grandma arrested and thrown in the slammer, everybody. Isn't that so? No, but I did have a very, very close relationship with a woman, and you might almost call us an odd couple, just being from two different worlds or places in our life. But for some reason it was a friendship that just worked. We just had a good time. And if it wasn't for that goddamn cancer, she would still be my best friend today. And I'm going to share the story of our relationship, our friendship, because I think that that's one of those as Seth Meyers would say, right, a story that we need right now. I think that we just need to have more of those. And I've said that with my guests today, with Candace Cameron Bure last week, that let's not focus on the gloom and doom. Let's actually have some uplifting and positive and happy thoughts for the holiday season. So my name is Jeremy Bradley. This is The Scribble. Feel free to give me a shout anytime, live at jbonair.com, live at jbonair.com. And since you're not going to be distracted with big family get-togethers and days of celebration, hopefully you'll tune in next week. All right, I'm looking forward to chatting with you then. I will talk to you then. Bye, everybody.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.
If you want some real heat,